Oh my god, my mom is gone. We can talk now. Hello, and welcome back to Hardly Qualified with Horace Gold. It is me, Horace Gold. I posted a podcast and video of my mom, who is a very conservative, Trump-supporting MAGA woman. And thank you for all the love on that one. It was so much work. The initial thesis of that TikTok series was that I didn't want to let Donald Trump ruin any more American families, starting with mine. I wanted to build a space to be able to come back with the disagreements that we do have because we don't agree politically. And I think that we were able to get there, but I wanted to go in a little bit deeper today and tell you how I got to the place of acceptance, because I think that we kind of left that for the end, and we mostly were just talking about the ideas of being a Black conservative, which I know is interesting on its own, but I don't think that we did enough of a job to really show how we rebuilt the relationship to be able to have those conversations today. So I wanted to do that on my own and really talk it down with you. It's really hard to disagree with your family. It's really hard to not feel safe politically and mentally and belief-wise with your parents, and to feel validated in your life if it differs from what they want from you or what they would do with themselves. It's hard to feel close with that, right? Like, if we look in the world, we generally are friends with people that we agree with. We're generally close and spend time with people that we know will support and affirm us from a place of acceptance, right? Like, it's hard to be like, ooh, what's your best advice for me? And ask someone who is like, I would change everything you're doing in life. I'm like, okay, babe, that wasn't actually okay, bye, right? Like, we don't often stay in those relationships, and that's why it's hard with family, because there is a sort of inferred obligation being in the traditional nuclear family dynamic. It's hard to be like, well, actually, like, I read Marx when if your parents are like, I no. How do I find the space to be able to disagree and stay close? That's very difficult to do. And it didn't come easily, let me tell you. It was not a flip of a light switch, baby. It took years, and it took therapy, and it took concerted effort, and it took space. Now, I'm going to be honest, and I don't want this to sound ageist by any sense, but it does seem, at least it was in my experience, that when I was coming to my spiritual and political awakening, I was young, right? I was 20, 21, really being like, what, mom? What? Like, do you even know? Like, I was so emboldened and so angry and like loud about my thoughts and my beliefs, and I wanted everyone in the world to know what I'm thinking, because I had a thought, which means I'm brilliant. I thought it, so I think I'm right. You know, like, I was really, really unforgiving if I felt that there was someone who didn't agree with me, because I was right. I'm right, right? Right. And so if that's you, I hold space for you. If you were like freshly 18, 19, 20, 21, like, it's normal to think that you are the first person who's thinking these thoughts. You are not, and that's amazing. It's really a part of the social awakening to sort of realize that the structures that you were told were true and valid, and you realize that they're not, and that there's flaws and there's cracks in the foundation. To experience that is difficult. There is a form and a version of grief that goes into realizing that the childhood expectation that you had of the world and what it would offer you, and I think this is particularly designed for Americans. We were fed a belief. We were fed a system. We were fed the American dream. We're seeing that all of these institutions are predicated on the backs of oppression. And when we realize that, it's really frustrating. And we're like, I just found that out. Did everyone else know about that? Guys, did you know that slavery is like why America is the richest country in the world? I just found that like totally valid. You were totally valid to be justified in the anger of realizing that this country was built on sin. And I'm like, again, Christian with an asterisk at this point. I'm pretty confident when I say that America was built on sin. It is universal sin to put people in chains and force them to do all of this dehumanizing labor to build a country. The enslavement of African people was awful, and how that system perpetuated and morphed and changed and took on new manifestations is a really difficult thing to understand, right? This is why we say ignorance is bliss. It truly is. To know the history of this country is depressing, and it's enraging, and it's galvanizing, right? It makes you want to get up and like make it different. Now, we have to remember, our parents know this and still vote, right? Like, I'm not showing them anything they didn't know already. And that is where we have to sort of begin this work, is understanding that I cannot hold the expectation that I will be the catalyst to change their mind. That is amazing, and it's awesome. If that happens, it means your parents are open and receptive and willing to learn something new later on in their life. That's an amazing quality. That is not most people's reality when speaking with their parents about new subjects. I'm just being very honest with that, right? And so step one is understanding that these conversations cannot be had with the rubric of results being like the only version that makes this conversation valid, right? Like, I can't hold people to like fundamentally changing every single thing about their lives for these conversations to be impactful. Most people won't change. I'm being really honest. Most people will not change when hearing new concepts. We as human beings adapt to structures and systems and fixtures in life, and we find comfort in those things, right? We find safety. I put this in air quotes, safety in those concepts because it's what we know, right? So to ask people who are getting older to change everything they know about life is a tough sell. Am I saying that that's okay? Absolutely not. Do I think most people should be adaptive and ready to change? Absolutely. Is that realistic? Girl, no. No, babes. It's not. Now, does that mean that I just become like quite a pessimist and I say, I'm never talking to you again? That works for some people. You know, I think that the isolation of it all, the no contact of it all, that works for people. I got a big ass family. There's a bunch of us. I have spent holidays away from my family and it is so sad. It's lonely. It's not that fun. My righteous indignation is not worth it. I've experienced it. I've done it for a few years. There were maybe 6 or 7 years that I did not go to Thanksgiving with my family because I was like, I don't want to be here. Y'all make me angry. I was still drinking at the time. And I was like, y'all make me want to drink because I'm angry and I don't feel safe. I don't feel seen here. I got to go. So I took my space. I definitely did. Again, I'm not saying that this was like an instant open and shut, like bing, bam, boop, like it's over. No, it took time. But a real catalyst to my change was my father getting diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2020. I was recently sober. It was like the height of the pandemic. We were all hanging out in our little pods and not really seeing our parents if we didn't have to. And I got the call that my dad was going into surgery to have his cancer removed. And that changed everything for me, right? Like we were getting to go back into Biden versus Trump. All that media was happening. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this again. Like, this is why I don't talk to my parents. Like, this is so insane, yada, yada. But I was like, oh, my dad's got cancer. That's a big one. That's hard to look past. That is hard to look past, babes. And I was like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And I'm going to pause on the family thing for a second and switch to friends because I was friends with people at the time who did not agree with me in the same way. I was a bleeding heart Democrat, very like, let's go, like Biden, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. And I was friends with a girl who was like, oh, I'm not voting for Biden. And I was like, I'm sorry, you can do that? We're not Trump supporters. Like, we vote for Biden. And she's like, I am not a Democrat. Like, I'm left leaning, but I'm not a Democrat. I'm going to vote for the third party because I just don't believe in any of this. And I was like, she's blowing my mind. She's blowing, guys, I think I'm bleeding from the brain. Like, I'm exploding. This is great. Well, you can do that? Okay. Good to know. And it was remarkable the amount of instant elastic grace that I offered her. And I was able to be like, okay, no, I still want to be friends with you. And then I was like, hold on. Hypocrite alert, brr, brr, brr. You're a hypocrite, bitch. Me, Horace, looking in the mirror. How can you hold grace for your friend who's not voting for Biden and you believe that that is a vote for Donald Trump? If she's ostensibly voting for Donald Trump and you're still friends with her, why are you judging your parents who are voting for Donald Trump? If both of those things are the same thing, but I can hold grace for one and not the other, I'm the common denominator. I'm sitting right in the middle. And I'm like, ooh, I do have a part in this. I am not completely innocent. I am being double-sided. I'm being a hypocrite. And so this is why I always advocate for people having diverse friend groups, right? Like, I don't think that we need to hang with people who we don't feel safe with. I don't think that is not what I'm saying by any stretch of the imagination. But church kid, trigger warning, iron sharpeneth iron, right? Like, being with people that you don't agree with 100% of the time makes you understand your beliefs and it makes you understand their beliefs and you can understand both sides of it. And for me, it makes me stronger in my beliefs because I'm like, no, girl, I don't agree with you. Actually, like, I do believe that like voting third party in such tenuous elections against Donald Trump is problematic. But like, why do I believe that? Do I believe that because I saw a bunch of TikTokers say that? Or do I actually research this information and understand what's at stake? And when I was able to understand my beliefs and why I believed them, it allowed me to not feel that I had to project that onto everyone else. I was able to speak and keep up and I can tell you what I believe and why I believe it. But I found that the desire to proselytize that to other people sort of like evaporated because I was like, I don't really care what you do. Like, I'm doing what I'm going to do. You're going to do what you're going to do. I'm not going to change your mind. I have already tried to change my parents' mind and it doesn't work. I've already tried to change my friend's mind and it doesn't work. Like, it's just a lot of labor when I know what I'm doing. I know what I believe in. And that is A-okay. Again, that does not require me to hang out with people that I don't feel safe with or justify behavior that I wouldn't do to someone else, right? But I get to sort of sit in my stature and understand my thoughts, my beliefs, and my why. And that self-assurance made me far more secure in my understanding. And when I felt impenetrable and unmovable, it allowed me to spend time with other people who were impenetrable and unmovable and be like, I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change mine. What's the rest of our personality look like? There's more to me than who I'm voting for, so chances are there's probably more to you. These people have experience and stories and worlds that are not just Donald Trump or Mitt Romney or George Bush or any of these Republican white men. They're more than that, right? Because I'm more than that. I am more than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Barack Obama. I'm gay. So that's like a long way of saying, like, really just when I accept myself, I can accept other people. I think the mortality of 2020 really brought into perspective what I was potentially giving up to be right. I was like, is it worth being wrong? Oh, I can't say, oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I don't think I can say that I am like unequivocally right enough to justify not talking to my father while he has cancer. Ooh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I think I gotta call my daddy. And I did. We get to talk, we get to disagree, we get to offer each other different peeks into our worldviews. Like, I'm very open with my parents about how wrong I think they are. And then we're like, cool, so like, do you wanna get sushi? Like, we get to move on from that. Next, I wanna talk about the emotional reckoning of realizing that your parents are not voting for your personal best interests. Like I said in the video with my mom, she's done worse to me than vote for Donald Trump. And again, it goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning, right? Where like, when my views are questioned and when I have to defend my views, it actually makes me believe them more. You know, I felt closer to my gayness in the history of the oppression of gay men by being an oppressed gay man. I was like, who else got through this and didn't die? Like, how do I do that? And it brought me a sense of safety, and I felt very seen and that I could hold and be held by other gay men. And because my self-esteem wasn't offered from my parents, I had to build it for myself. And so when I did, I stopped asking them to tell me it was okay. I was like, I don't really care what you think, because there's aspects of your worldview that I don't agree with, girl. I don't agree with it. Because I know my values, I know my morals. I'ma do me, I'ma suck a dick, and I don't really care what you have to say about it, okay? So I was freed, you guys. I was freed from the shackles of needing mommy and daddy to validate me. I was like, I'm good. I'm an adult. I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm working. I'm successful. I'm hot. I'm so hot. I'm good. You're good. We're done. We're adults now, right? Like, I'm gonna actually move forward with my life with the moral compass that I have developed. I think so often in the church, we are just emulating the moral structure that we get from quote unquote the Bible and quote unquote pastors. Like, y'all are just, that's not what this is about. What I'm saying is I was given self-esteem from me to me. Sender and deliver, same address. Me, girl. I was able to love myself with self-love and pride that I was able to build in myself. So I stopped needing it from my parents. And so when I freed up that like whole, it was like a ravine, right? This well of like validation that was like dilapidated and dry and dank and nasty. And I needed so much love. Honestly, potentially more love than they could give me was the vastness that I was waiting for them to satisfy. And when I realized that they couldn't, and that vastness was only growing larger because the only substance that could fill it was my self-love. I was the only one who could love me the way that I needed to, right? And it is the classic RuPaul quote, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? That includes our parents. That includes our parents. And so when I was able to love myself and believe in myself and believe my thoughts about the majesty and the purity of being a gay man, I think that being a gay man is so holy. Girl, you can't tell me that being gay is unnatural. Why is there a prostate? Why is it there? If it's unnatural, why did God put it in my vagina? Boygina. Not a boygina. I said it. Why did God put a prostate in my boygina? I want to know. And to also hold myself accountable, there's aspects of my life that my parents would not participate in. And I'm like, you're probably right. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect thing. I just like, for all sin comes short of the glory of God, bitch. Like, I am not going to sit here and say that I'm a perfect little human being. I'm not. And neither are they. So if I can hold space for myself that I'm not perfect, I can hold space that they're not perfect, vice versa. Nowhere in the world did I sign a contract that said my parents must be perfect for me to stay in contact with them. I don't need them to tell me that everything's okay, for me to tell myself that it's gonna be okay. Does that mean I need to completely sabotage the relationship? No. I think that there are other benefits of being close to the family. I think other parts of me that are not my sexuality, that are not my politics, that feel more whole when I'm closer to my family. And so I'm willing to pay the price of a little bit of self-sacrifice so that I can get the benefit of the family unit. Sorry, that might be unpopular. I don't really care. I want to talk to my parents. Wild. Oh my God. What a concept. A man wants to talk to his father. Whoa. Breaking news. And this is why friends are so important, because I don't get everything from my family, right? And it's kind of in a weird way like what the polyamorous community talks about, like you're not going to get everything from one person. I feel that in a lot of like non-romantic relationships. Like I'm not going to get everything from my family as far as like humor and understanding and like inside jokes, but also I'm never going to feel as known by my friends as I do by my family. So there's benefits to being close to both of those parties. If you're best friends with your family, I want you to know you are the luckiest person in the world. You have won the lottery. That is being so rich and so wealthy. You are so blessed if you are close, genuinely close with your family. That is such a gift. And I'm close enough with my family. But like my sisters all live in New York. I live in LA. My brother is doing his thing. He's in a relationship. He's built, like we're adults, right? Like I'm not like hanging out every day, bestie with my siblings. That's just not the case for me. And it never really was for me, right? Like they're all a lot older than me. Like we never were really in the same stream of life at the same time. And I have accepted that. That's okay. I love them to pieces. I would do anything for any of them. I would sacrifice myself for any of them. Like I love them. They're my family. But I didn't get that experience of being best friends with them. And so because that wasn't my experience, that's not my expectation. My expectation is not to have every single facet of my personality satisfied and validated from my family unit. That's not the cards I was dealt. You know, I was dealt a strong family, a loyal family, an intelligent family that's very, very inspiring. Like we're all very hard workers, but the truth of it all is like we were kind of raised in the Hunger Games. We definitely did compete with each other for like excellence and favor and dominance in the family. And so I didn't feel extremely close to them. And I definitely don't feel close enough to them to lead with my flaws. Versus my friends are my diary. There's not one secret that I have in the world that at least 3 to 4 of my friends do not know. Like everyone knows everything about me because I can't live in secrets, girl. I am an alcoholic. Secrets make me drink. Secrets equal a bottle of rosé at 7 a.m, if I'm being honest. So I don't ask that from my family, and I don't put expectations on what they cannot give me, because that's just not fair. I was on Dara Star Tucker's podcast the other day, and I came up with this quote that I really like. I was like, oh my God, am I a genius? But I was like, I can't ask a zebra to be a lion, and I can't be mad that that zebra is not a lion. It's a zebra, bitch. Zebras are beautiful. Zebras are beautiful when I want them to be a zebra. But when I'm like, why aren't you giving me some bop? Where's Scar? Girl, what? The moral of the story is like, manage your expectations, sweetheart. Like, why am I expecting my 60 and 70-year-old parents to do something that they can't? And why am I judging and punishing for what they cannot do? They cannot separate their afterlife from their vote. It is not an option. So me being angry that I don't have an option instead of working with the ones I do is just now my own fault. Now that's my fault. Wanting someone to be different, realizing that they won't be, and then being like, we're not different. Girl, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. I don't know what accent I'm doing right now. Please, someone don't cancel me because I don't know who I just have found dead. We're going to go back to standard American English for a second because I might have just crossed the line. Don't know who I am. Whoever that was, whatever community that was, I'm sorry. I am drinking a Diet Coke. I'm caffeinated. So all in all, a sense of self has allowed me to hold grace and space for others. I don't need what others can't give me. And when people can give it to me, I go to them. I don't go to zebras wanting them to be lions. I don't go to Republicans asking them to be Democrats. I don't go to parents asking them to be friends. I go to my parents to feel like I'm a part of a family. And I go to my friends to be my friends. And that's what allows me to still show up, is I just sort of stop expecting people to be who they can't be. And that's the best I can do today. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Hardly Qualified. We will be on our regular schedule next week. 1 interview, 1 solo episode. Please be sure to follow my personal social media, everything at Horace Gold in the description, wherever you're listening or watching to this. And then please follow the podcast, Hardly Qualified Pod, on all platforms. I love you so much. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you. Mwah. Be kind, be loving, be intelligent. XOXO, Gossip Guy. Mwah.